stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First order of business be the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Do you have any questions or corrections? Hearing none, all in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, so ordered. Next order be approval of the minutes for the September 23rd.
Mr. Mayor, we cannot approve the minutes tonight. They're on there for information.
Okay. Next order of business be an announcement of the 2019 GMA District 4 Fall Meeting to be held Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019 from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Historic City Hall, 201 East Solomon Street, Griffin, Georgia.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I will not be able to attend. However, a city vehicle will be available for anybody that cares to attend. And please inform the city clerk if you care to attend so that she can RSVP for you.
Alrighty. Next order of business, the announcement for the Grant Fest Fall Festival, Saturday, October 26, 2019, from 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. downtown Grant.
Hoorah.
That's all that's necessary. It is announced. Steve, you got anything about you want to announce, like ask for a cakewalk, cakes, or anything like that?
If you might want to donate any cakes, we're going to cakewalk again this year. Last year we had a great cakewalk, and it lasted probably, toward the end, we ended up giving the cake just about to everybody. I think everybody in the city of Grantville last year donated the cake to us, we had a great time. As far as I know, everything's ready to go. We've got about 56 cars right now signed up for the trunk or treat, so we'd like to have as many cars as possible sign up for it. Last year we had 72. I'd like to get more than that this year. We've already got the music on board, got the bouncy houses on board. Hopefully we'll have the rest of the decoration sometime this week, Mr. Allen.
When do you want the cake for the cakewalk?
I'd rather not have till the day of
The day of it?
Yes, sir, because they get here before, sometimes they come up missing. Last year my office smelled so good, I didn't want to go home. So, but we do appreciate everything everybody in the city's doing. We've had a lot of good cooperation this year. I think it's going to be another good show like we had last year. If y'all remember last year, I think we had a great show now. The only thing is, I hope this year that we can control the giving out the candy a little sooner last year than we wanted to. So I'm going to try to get it so that we start the candy at one time. That way, some of the kids won't be so want to get in and get out so quick. But I think it's going to be set up pretty good. So I'm looking forward to it. Any questions? And the thing says 2 o'clock. We're going to start setting up everything around 2 o'clock. The festival probably won't start about 4:30. That's what time the music's going to start at 4:30. So, but we like to try to start setting this thing set up about 2 o'clock.
Okay.
Thank y'all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve.
Yes,
Thank you.
Next item is discussion on the film permit application for Big Indy Underground Inc.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, we have received this filming permit application, and we recommend approval. The chief has been working with their location manager as to street closures and notifying business owners of the film time, which right now is they're setting up on Sunday, the 2nd of February 2020, and it'll run through February the 6th, 2020. The actual filming will be on Friday, the 7th of February, and the 10th of February, and the 11th of February. As I said, the chief has been working with the location manager, and everything appears to be in order.
So the, location manager, is that Blake guy? Treble
Yes,
Blake?
it sure is, yes, sir.
All right, next item will be.
Well, I got a question, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead. We can't make a decision.
I know, I don't know anything about this. I wanna ask some questions, if that's okay. So the thing starts on the 2nd and goes to the 11th.
And start, they're gonna do that season for a week before, they've already leased the depot for, I think, was it 3 weeks? Is it 3 weeks they leased it for? And, they're gonna come in and they're gonna build a bar inside the depot. They're gonna build, most of the shooting's gonna be on Main Street. If you look at the permit, they wanted to close a lot of streets down, but we've made some great arrangements on it. We're not closing everything down like they wanted to do, so we've got it worked out, so it's gonna work. We've got officers that are gonna work the traffic and stuff, and like the city manager said, they're gonna only be shooting 3 days here. So it's really only 3 days where we're gonna have a lot of hassle, everything else is gonna be setting up and taken down.
But what's the longest any one particular street's gonna be closed?
Main Street's probably gonna shut down the longest.
How long would that be?
They wanna shut it down for over a day, but we're working on that right now. And I'll be back with y'all on that later on. There's a reason they're gonna do that. This movie is made in 1940, I think is what it is, excuse me, 1840. It's called The Underground Railroad. They're filming in Savannah right now. They've been in Savannah probably about 3 weeks already, filming Savannah. They're leaving there, they're leaving there, they're gonna take a 2-week break. They're gonna come back, they're gonna do some filming in Gay. Then they're gonna take the Christmas break. Then they're gonna come back and film in another town somewhere in North Georgia. This movie was supposed to go to New York, and they decided to do all the filming here in Georgia. So I think it's a pretty good thing that they're gonna stay here in Georgia. And but they're planning on doing some work downtown, and it might have a little problem, Main Street opening up. If we have to do it, we've talked to the business owners, and they're gonna compensate the business owners like they need to be. That's something they had to do. The city is not involved with that. I've taken them down, they've talked to Nico and the pharmacists, and we've got the arrangements, if they do have to close down Main Street for a day, that the way the parking's gonna be, the way people's coming like that, they're pretty content with that. So I think we can handle the traffic with no problem.
Well, I think anybody could live with a day. It's just that, there's been circumstances before when it was a week long, you had to go around
Well, I'll
the world to
explain
get home.
why they say a day.
Yeah.
Main Street's gonna be a dirt road. They're gonna bring dirt in, and Main Street's gonna be a complete dirt road. And what happens is, once they make it dirt, cars can't drive on it, because once cars start driving, they pack it down. In Savannah, they closed Bay Street, which, the Main Street there in Savannah, they closed it for like 8 hours one day, because it was a dirt, they made it dirt also. So I think if they closed Bay Street for 8 hours one day, I think we could work out some kind of arrangement with that right there. And when they come back in, they clean everything up, you'd never know they've been here.
Okay, thank you.
They've been very cooperative with everything, that we talked about. Like I said, when I first looked at the thing and they wanted to close down all these streets, I went to them, I said, we can't do that. And that's when we sat down and started negotiating how we can start shutting streets down, so. But I think we can make it work really well. And I would like to see them start making more movies back to the city, because this little town has a lot to offer.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for working with them and
Yes, sir.
negotiating
It's been a pretty good experience.
Yeah.
I did a lot of stuff like this when I was in Marietta County, and to come here, Mr. Sales, I think, I don't know if he knows I know it or not, but I think he kind of put them in touch with me, so I think that's what happened. I just got kind of hooked up with them, and we've been going that way ever since they've been here.
I still haven't talked with them though, since I
Really?
started making plans. They hadn't talked to me. Would you pass that? Are you the point person?
Well, I guess I'm right now, yes, sir.
Somebody pass that on. I mean, of course, I'm very much in favor, but they haven't talked to me.
I thought they had talked to you the first couple of times they were here.
Well, they may have months ago, but now we're in the planning stage, and I
Yes.
hadn't. I did talk to someone a few months ago, but it was in general, and we hope we're coming.
Okay. The lady from California, she was here last week. We met I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, whatever day they came in and got the read the bill out. I can't remember exactly what day it was. I was understanding they talked to everybody there, but I'll make sure I'll get in touch with Terry, make sure he talks to you. Yes, sir. Anything else?
You know, my point was, Steve, that, you know, I guess what I'm trying to say here is, you know, if citizens have to go around the world to get home for a week plus,
Yes,
we've had, and then those citizens don't benefit a thing from it.
Yes, sir.
You know, if it's a day, that's fine. If
Yes,
it's,
sir.
you know, if it's day here and day there, I'm all for them coming here.
Yes.
Don't misunderstand me. I just kind of, you know, my job here is to look after the citizens, so
Yes, sir.
they may have to drive 5 miles out of the way to get home, but they don't benefit from it, so
Yes, sir.
that was my only question, and you answered it, so thank
The
you.
first thing I have to do is go down the Grand Street
Yeah.
and back up the back of
Yeah.
this right here, because we're not going to
Yeah.
cut the side streets down, it's just be the one main street.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
May I point out, Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
May I point out too, we have several apartments that will be affected on Grant Street, Main Street, and possibly Church Street. We have residents, and
Yes,
Ms. Jabley does too.
Well, they were supposed to have talked to Miss Jabley, after I left my meeting, that Thursday they were here. They were supposed to meet Miss Jabley. They went down and talked to Nico. They went on to talk to Al Booth. I'm sorry,
It's an oversight, we'll get it taken care of, I'm not worried about it.
Yes.
I just wanna, I wanna make sure they understand our apartments, residents will
Yes.
need to,
Yes.
be inconvenienced. But again, we'll work it out, I have no doubt.
like I said, they told me that you the one told them to come talk to me, so I assumed that they had been talking to you.
Well, I would
Talk
have,
to me.
of course, I would have done that, but that was probably months ago.
Yes, sir.
My memory's poor, but I remember last week.
Yes, sir. I sure will get in touch with them tomorrow.
Steve, the reason I asked about the point person, that Terrell guy, is when I went to the GMA, one of the classes that I went to had to do with filming here in the city, in the cities in Georgia.
Yes.
And the one thing that I brought away from that is there was one gentleman who was the scout for some of these movies,
Yes, sir.
and he said, because I talked to him about the fact that we had Walking Dead, a lot of citizens got upset and they moved on. And he said the one thing that the only advice he could really give us is if and when we can get the movies to come back to Grantville, that whoever is going to represent the city, go to that scout rather than go to the people running the film, because like he advised, these people running the film, 10-minute delay is dollar signs to them.
Right.
But whoever goes out here and scouts this thing out, he gets a contract and an understanding between the city, what they will allow and won't allow, and he also relays that. And so rather than to avoid a conflict like it was before, he says, work through that point, man, because he can go to the filmers and say, look, I know it's an inconvenient, but you agreed to it.
Right.
So-
They've been very cooperative, like I say. Mr. Al was out of town, the only reason Mr. Al didn't attend the meeting with me also, so that's the only reason. They were only here for that short time, because like I said, she had to go up to Savannah to do this, and she had to go back, and then she's going back to California for a couple of weeks. She said she had been home in California 6 months, so she's getting ready to go home. So, but I'll make sure Mr. Al's fully aware of everything goes on also.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else? All right, next item is discussion on amending section 38-32, Code of Ordinances, where the property owner will only be responsible for obstructions in the service line to the city right-of-way. Presently, the property owner is responsible for obstructions in service lines to its connection to the city main line sewer.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Our Director of Public Works and Utilities, Russell Chambers, has a presentation for you. I will say that we do not recommend amending section 28-32 of the Code of Ordinances.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for the time up here to present this to you. The first slide is the current way that we do it. As far as responsibility goes, you have the main line that I'm responsible for, and from the main line to the house is the customer's responsibility. Anytime there's a clog in the line, what I do is I send someone out, we check the manholes, make sure the main is flowing free and clear. If the main is flowing free and clear, that's an indicator that it's out of my hands and it's on the customer side. So we defer it off to the customer and they repair it. That's a side view. We're gonna go to an overview. This subdivision, I've got the orange laid out as right of way, approximate right of way. I have the green laid out as city responsibility that I take care of. The customer from the green to the house is their responsibility on this aerial photo. And that's indicated by that neon color, that yellow color. All right. So, is there any questions on how we do it currently before I move on to the proposed way?
Anybody got any questions up there?
So basically, the way it is now, the homeowner is responsible all the way to the main line?
Yes, sir. It doesn't
Okay.
matter if it's under asphalt, sidewalk, yards, it's their responsibility from,
As it stands now?
yes.
Okay.
I've done it both ways. The way that this city does it, it's a piece of cake to take care of. You just check manhole to manhole. You defer it off if it's not your problem. It's real easy way to manage it. The next slide I'm gonna transition in is the other way cities does it. And all I do is adhere to y'all's ordinances that y'all create. And I strictly adhere to them. This is a side view of another way another city does it. The main is pictured on the right and the home is pictured on the left, and there's two key points here. There's two cleanouts, one clean out at the property line and a clean out at the house. The city would be responsible from the main all the way to the right of way. If there was a clog, the customer calls and says, hey, my sewer's backed up, and we go out and we look at it. We're up front with them. If the clog is on your side, you'll pay for the time and the repair to fix it. Like blowing the clog out of the line with the jet or with any device. But if it's on our side, there's no charge. It's this is the aerial view of it, still showing the right of way, showing the main and what the city would take over on responsibility. So in this scenario, homeowner calls, we'd go out, there would be more overtime, there would be more responsibility on my part, there would be more digging on our part, the equipment, my aging workforce. My guys are an awesome crew, but I respect their age and their capability of digging with a shovel. I have to take all those factors into consideration. The red spots indicate where cleanouts would be. There'd be also another cleanout at the orange line. So in this city, you've got newer subdivisions that have cleanouts up next to the house, but in the older part of town, you don't have any cleanouts up next to the house. One of the things that I'm asking, if there is any amending the ordinance, is the cleanouts. If I have to go up there, the homeowner wouldn't have to have a clean out so I can access it and do my job. The next big thing is the tools to do the job with, the professional service. I've got a line item in there. We don't have it, but one of the professional services is knowing where all your sewer lines are, where all the taps are. You have to know where the taps are to be able to work on them. The jetter trailer, it's an aging piece of equipment. If I want to be responsible for cleaning out clogs, I need to be prepared for this unit to break from the added wear on it. The camera, it's a critical tool along with the locator to be able to locate the camera head to determine where the brakes are in the line. The hydrovac trailer is critical because of the safety of my employees. We'll be digging around natural gas lines and we'll be digging around electricity. With the backhoe and track hoe, you're very liable to dig up the gas line or power line. The next big thing is a staff member. I'm already having trouble doing base level services, work orders, maintaining the water system, the wastewater system. The extra person I already need, but with this amendment, I would need 100% y'all's support on getting me more help. In other words, if you do amend it, then I'm requesting everything to do my job on it to adhere to the ordinance.
And the total of that equipment is $256,000, and another employee would be approximately $31,000 plus benefits on an annual basis. Obviously, the equipment would be a one-time purchase of $256,000, and right now, we do not have that money in SPOS funds.
Well spoken, Al. The next slide is pictures of the equipment like I've used in the past, and I'm recommending that we purchase with this. The left picture is the camera. The right picture is the utility locator to locate the head of the camera and the camera line. The last slide I have for y'all is some common things that I run into. You have terracotta pipe in a lot of the older sections of the city and older towns. It's really hard to manage because it's outdated and fragile. You get roots in it. You get the clay breaking. You have intrusion. But you can look at the pictures of what I'm dealing with. I think before I started, the city dealt with the drill rig going through. That's everything I incur on my job. As the public works, I've done it both ways, like we are currently doing it, like the possible amending the ordinance. The workload and the management of it is simpler on the city side to do it the way we're currently doing it. The other viewpoint is on the customer side of what they're responsible for. So I have, eyes for both me and the customer, but all I can do is adhere to y'all's ordinance. And I'm willing to do whatever y'all need me to do. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank y'all for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. But before you go,
Yes, sir.
Mayor, you said the equipment's expensive, and then you went to this page and said you need it. What are we talking about here? You're asking for the equipment, you said it's too expensive. You want the camera, and then the equipment that goes and finds the head of the camera. You're asking to buy it, and you said it's too expensive. The city doesn't have a camera, is that correct?
My statement is that if we change the amendment, this is what I'm requesting.
You're not requesting the camera now.
Only if it's amended. The Mr. Al, I go to him.
I misunderstood you.
Yeah.
I thought you were asking for the camera after you finished it, and you were saying if it's amended.
No, I go to Mr. Al with all the needs and the wants of this department.
Thank you.
And it's, you know,
You know? Yeah. Is that all you had?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I do. Now, hypothetically, if this were the case, would the city be the ones responsible to determine where the blockage was?
The determination of the location is pretty cut and dry. The biggest thing is having the tools to assess the situation. The clog is going to be clogged, so when you run the camera head up to it, it won't go no further. So then you take your locator head and you paint on the ground where it is. Then you can find out your right of way, and it's cut and dry.
But basically, earlier in your presentation, you said that the way it stands now, it's relatively easy to tell whether there's a clog in somebody's current line to their house.
It's easy on the city's part. All we do is pop a manhole or 2 manholes. If it's flowing down the city's main, then it's not clogged on my side. If the manhole's backed up or it's overflowing, then it's my fault. So it's just really popping 2 manholes the way we do it right now.
Presently, the customer is responsible for the service line from the building structure to the main.
I understand.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you for the options.
Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
I can answer the question. I brought this up. I think it's probably the same problem the Berries had, but I'm not positive. But in the last few months, I've had 2 problems underneath the city street. Now, we call a professional plumber to come out and locate the problem, and one was a couple of feet under the city street, and the other was 4. So it becomes a question now. The way we're set up now, if the homeowner needs to replace his line, he's going to hire somebody to tear up City Street, because it's his line up to the middle of the street. Most of these sewer lines are in the middle of the street because that's a convenient way to run it to get both sides. So right now, it's the homeowner is going to contract to tear up City Street so he can replace his line. So that's the purpose of me bringing this up. Obviously, it's not going to fly, so I have no objection if you want to remove it from the end of the month. You know, it's just going to waste our time, is my opinion. Thank you.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that what you just said makes sense, but then to go above and beyond that, have to go and buy all the equipment to support it is another, you open up another can of worms, you know. But what you just said makes sense, that, yeah, there's some street issues involved with sewer blockage from the house to the main, right? That's what you just said. I mean, yeah.
In actuality, we haven't and we're not gonna allow a citizen to go and dig up our streets. That'll be done under supervision of Public Works. They'll open the pipe, but the picture he's talking about up there, it shows from inside the building, running out to the main, coming down the road. If our main is blocked up, they should be able to tell that, because everything up also, where if this is only this one individual place, and I guess the easiest way to try to explain it is in your house. If you've got one sink that's running slow, and all the rest of them are draining like they should, you're not backing up toilets and stuff, it's a good indication you got a blockage in that little trap underneath. But if everything in your house runs slow, it's a good indication that the main sewer from your house, what they call a lateral, from your house to that main sewer is blocked up.
I understand how the plumbing and how all that works. My point was that when we get into the point of what Jim says, who's responsible for the streets when that gets torn up, but you just answered that, the Public Works will handle that, so, yeah, I know. plumbing?
No, they won't handle it. They'll supervise it. No, you're gonna be calling a contractor to come out and tear up the street. The city's not gonna tear that
But
street.
they're not gonna just run out there and start cutting streets out either.
They're gonna supervise it.
You're right.
Yes,
And it's
but they're
be
not
done-
gonna do it.
But
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the option.
Thank you, Russ.
Next item is discussion, first reading, ordinance 2019-12 to amend section 2.24, Code of Ordinance to amend the rules of for regularly scheduled council meetings.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is proposed that if nothing is provided in the code, procedure for meetings of the city council shall follow the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Order. This is the normal procedure, and as noted by the mayor, we do not have it in our code of ordinances, so we're recommending that it be placed in our code of ordinances.
Okay, anybody got any questions or? All right, next item is discussion on the veto of resolution 2019-08, resolution
Yes, sir.
to approve United Bank.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Resolution 2019 to approve United Bank for banking services for the city of Grantville was adopted on February 25th, 2019. Therefore, my reading of the code, this veto is not timely.
I'm not understanding what veto.
Well, it says veto of resolution 2019-08 dated September the 13th, 2019. As I said, resolution 2019-08 was to approve United Bank for banking service for the city of Grantville, and it was adopted on February the 25th, 2019. So, according to our charter, this veto is not timely. And in fact, we have already begun the transition of banking services to United Bank.
So you're saying 2019-08 was not the adoption of the proposed budget?
No, sir. Resolution 2019-08 was to approve banking services with United Bank. And that was adopted on February the 25th, 2019.
Reference item attached to ordinance adopted by the council, and I adopted the ordinance, attached the ordinance to it.
Well, maybe,
It's not
sir.
attached.
I didn't get the attachment. What I'm going on, the subject is veto of resolution 2019-08. There's an old axiom in the law, the document speaks for itself. So that's, when I looked at resolution 2019-08, it was to approve United Bank for banking services for the city of Grantville, and that was adopted on February the 25th, 2019.
But like I say, my intention was to veto the ordinance passed on September 23rd, 2019, the particular line items of that budget now. And I did attach a copy of it to the thing, and the clerk received it. Guess it, which which applies, Mr. City Attorney?
I don't know, Mayor, I haven't seen what we're talking about here.
Evidently, it was, I guess it's my error in putting the veto resolution. I thought the number was 2019-08 is what I read, but, or I don't know why it is like that, but like I say, he's saying that 2019-08 is not dealing with the, with the 2019 budget,
It'd be
You're
the
saying
2020 budget, sir.
2020 budget. He said that one deals with, a bank.
Well, the section of the charter dealing with veto says, within 96 hours after the adjournment of the council meeting, the city clerk shall present to the mayor the record of proceedings of the meeting and all ordinances and resolutions adopted at the meeting. The mayor, within 7 days of the receipt of an ordinance or resolution, shall return it, the ordinance or resolution, to the city clerk with or without his approval or with his veto. If an ordinance or resolution is vetoed, the mayor shall attach a written statement explaining the reason for his veto.
I guess what I'm asking is, evidently that where I put veto resolution 2019-08 is the wrong number.
Yeah, and like I say, I haven't seen the document we're talking about here, so.
So the document itself was a copy of the budget for the 2020 budget.
So you
It
returned,
was attached.
you returned the ordinance or resolution, whichever it was, unsigned and vetoed.
So now which would carry more weight as far as,
I mean, it simply says that you'll attach a written statement explaining the reason. It doesn't state what's supposed to be in that written statement. But I haven't seen, like I say, I haven't seen the statement, so.
that's why I say my statement there, the reason for this action, items are not necessary at this time.
The city manager just gave it to me. And I don't know whether, you say you're vetoing the following referenced items in the attached ordinance, and so that certainly refers to, I guess, the ordinance that, at hand.
What was the carry more weight? I didn't quite understand that. It either is or it ain't, right? I mean, I didn't understand that. I may have missed something.
Your letter says pursuant to section 2.06 of the charter of the city of Granville, I am vetoing the following referenced items of the attached ordinance adopted by the city council on September 23rd, 2019. I mean, that certainly seems to be pretty clear indication what you're talking about. I see up here on the ray line, as the city manager points out, it says veto of resolution 2019-08. I don't know whether maybe that was ordinance 2908. I don't know. I don't know exactly what the error is there, but.
Yes, but what he's saying is this resolution 2019-08 does not refer to the budget.
I understand that. But your letter clearly references the attached ordinance and the date that it was adopted, September 23rd, 2019.
And there was one attached to it.
So that would seem to meet what the charter requires. You return the ordinance with an attached written statement explaining the reasons for the veto.
Mr. Mayor?
I think.
Let me get this. You done?
I think ultimately that's the council's decision as to whether they take action to override it or.
Mr. Mayor, I have a possible solution to it.
Go ahead.
Well, it's gonna take 3 votes one way or another. If this is the discussion, if you wanna tell us what these items are and put it on the agenda to be voted up or down end of this month, you'll have exactly what you asked for, one way or another, by the vote of the council.
Okay, and the attachment would show exactly what they were.
Okay,
There
but
were
it's,
vehicles that were in the budget, for, I think it was
The police department
electric department and
for
public safety.
$120,000, electric department for $25,000, and gas department for $25,000.
$170,000
but
is what we're looking at.
if we can put that on the agenda for the voting meeting, we can decide and resolve this issue, so that it's not a conflict, if that's what you want to do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, and then,
Can I say something?
in the meantime, go ahead with your,
Well, I think Jim's got a good suggestion, but I will say that if he had or I had put this in this agenda and it was worded wrong, it'd never fly. That's just my opinion.
you got a special crystal ball over there you can look at, 'cause I don't know that.
Oh, there's been some times, there's been some times, it's happened since I've been elected. But either way, I'm all for voting for it when it comes up in the regular meeting. I just think everybody ought to get treated the same around here, that's all.
Okay. We'll discuss it more at the meeting then. Where we at?
Mr. Mayor, we're in discussion, decision on fiscal year 2019 budget amendments. There is nothing in your packet right now because we're still looking at the different line items in the budgets. We have identified 2 so far that we will need amendments on. One is the seized fund account, which is a budget, and the other is the cemetery account, which is in the general fund budget. But what we plan to do is on October 24th, run the numbers again to see what budget amendments we have to make in addition to those 2. But we need a little more time to make sure all our accounts payable are recorded in the budget for 2019. So that will be fleshed out for our meeting on October the 28th.
Can we amend it after the new budget kicks in?
Yes, sir, we can, according to the auditor, Gerald Pentecost. We asked him specifically if we could do budget amendments in October, and he said yes.
Okay.
Because obviously, you can't amend the budget in September 30th because not all your invoices that you received prior to September 30th have been paid.
Well, remember last year there was a need to amend it, or last year, or year before last, and we had to do it, you know, if it's fine, if we can do it, I don't have a problem with it, but my understanding last time was that it had to be done prior to adoption of the new budget, but I could be in error. So we'll talk about that. But if it's okay to do it, that's fine with me. Next item is discussion on Resolution 2019-24 to terminate the banking services at BB&T.
Yes, sir. Again, this is an audit requirement from Gerald Pentecost. After we transition all our banking services that are presently being provided by BB&T to United Bank, we need a resolution terminating banking services with BB&T. So that's an audit requirement.
Okay, so we're now wanting to terminate all the accounts in BB&T?
As we transition to United Bank, yes, sir, we need a resolution terminating banking services with BB&T for the audit.
Okay, because the reason I asked that is because I remember when we took some of the accounts, I asked if we were going to transfer all of them, and I was told no. That we were only doing some of them.
We're
That's my question.
doing them all, sir.
Okay.
It reduces our banking service charges tremendously.
All right, anybody got any questions or discussion on that?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Personally, I just have a problem, or maybe I should say concern, that we would take all of our monies and put it in one bank. Personally, I think BB&T is a good bank, and I've always heard you don't need to put all of your eggs in one basket. So with that said, I would not be in accord with transferring all the money to one bank. And I do recall, as Mayor Jewell has stated, that it was said we would have some monies in BB&T, because I asked the question about the SPLOST monies. Where would they be and how much? So I just think we need to keep our monies in more than one place.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead.
Could you tell me briefly how our money is separated in specific accounts? General fund, SPLOST, I'm assuming the monies aren't commingled. Can you explain?
We have a general operating account. We have a gas fund. We have an electric fund. We have a water and sewer fund. We have a 2007-2012 SPLOST account. We have a 2013-2018 SPLOST account. We have a 2019-2024 SPLOST account. We have a debt service account for the USDA loan.
Police,
Pardon, sir?
police funds?
Seized funds. I think I got most of them.
Would the information in these accounts be available to council members to research over
Certainly.
time?
Certainly.
Thank you. And I just want to say, I'm really glad in January that we decided to move out of BB&T. I do business with a lot of banks, and they're first class, and they charge for it. They're the Ritz-Carlton. So I'm glad the council chose to move to United Bank.
All except one council person. Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
I was speaking of the vote. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Nobody? My only concern with moving it to any bank is, there's something out there called sweep accounts. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, sir, very much so.
Okay, and I've heard there are some risks to it that you can, the way I understand it, you stand to make a lot of money on your interest, but you also stand a chance of losing it, so.
Well, I will disagree with that. My concept of a sweep account is you deposit a certain amount of money, or you deposit all of your money into a checking account, and then you set a required minimum amount, just let's say $5,000. And this is what we do with United Bank that we couldn't do with BB&T.
So
We
they
could
do-
draw interest, pardon me,
They do the sweep account?
United Bank?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay.
What they do, it's wealth management. We deposit our 2019-2024 SPOSI money into a checking account with United Bank. And anything over $5,000 is swept to an interest-bearing account so we can lessen our bank charges. That never was available from BB&T. The customer service that we're getting from United Bank is exponentially better. When we deposit money with United Bank, we get an email back confirming that deposit. That hadn't happened before. So that's why we recommend all our accounts with United Bank for that exact reason, to lessen bank charges and take care of the interest that can be earned on the monies that we have with United Bank.
So BB&T does not offer that?
No,
at
sir.
all? All right. And am I correct that that sweep is done daily?
That I can't say. I do not know that for a fact.
Because see, that was the problem, what I was listening to. The problem says that they sweep them to foreign banks and get the interest, but like I say, you could gain a lot, but if you went to the wrong foreign bank, you could lose a lot.
Well, I understand that with foreign banks, but United Bank is our local bank, and it's my understanding, they don't sweep the foreign banks.
Okay. That was my concern on that whoever we do it with. Anybody else? All right. Discussion on replacing the wide sidewalk on the south side of Main Street from Post Street to Church Street.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I was asked to put this on the agenda, and it's there for discussion by the council.
Okay. Anybody want to discuss?
I brought it up, Mr. Mayor, we've got businesses downtown on this street. We've got a beauty salon, a restaurant, the pharmacy, a dance studio, and Grantville Business Center that includes a GED. And we have the tourist department upstairs and also an apartment upstairs. The sidewalks are cracked and in disrepair. One large section just looks like gravel was just laid and then not even polished out. Anyway, the sidewalks, I'm sure, are 50, 60 years old. It needs to be dressed up. I mean, it's our main street downtown. Obviously, I own most of it, but it's in disrepair. We do want to. A lot of these buildings are going to have to attract someone else. I can't renovate some of them, but I think the city's got a responsibility to at least consider improving that sidewalk. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I'm in accord that we need sidewalks and they need to be kept in a usable condition. I am really concerned that at least you have sidewalks in these areas that are being used. I'm concerned of Griffin Street, and I've said this numerous times, that we need sidewalks on Griffin Street to 29 so that people can walk safely and not in the grass. So, and I'm in accord with sidewalks being improved throughout our city as well as roads. But if you already have sidewalks, maybe in disrepair, versus non-sidewalks in another areas, I would think we would need to really give priority to the area where there are no sidewalks. Thank you.
Hello?
Yes.
Okay, anybody else? All right. I seen this on the agenda, and I went down and looked at the streets and actually took pictures of the sidewalks, if anybody's interested in seeing them. But I would suggest that each council member go down between now and the next meeting and take a look at them. The main sidewalk along Main Street there, there are a few areas that do have cracks, but concrete, there's only two kinds that I know of. That's the concrete that's cracked and the ones that's gonna crack. And now, it does show on that some of the aggregate has been washed out with a pressure washer, but by and large, the sidewalks aren't in that bad a shape. Now, again, up in front of the Red Mexican, that's probably the worst part, but even there, it's just a bunch of cracks. It's not really a trip hazard that I can see because the concrete is really fairly level across there, but I would suggest that before we take action on that, each council will go down there and look for themselves and determine how important it is. Next order is
An agreement to get our RFPs more widely distributed. So we recommend approval of that.
and we can't do it tonight, but,
No, sir.
all right. Anybody got any questions?
Just one.
Go ahead.
What's in it for the supplier doing this free?
Business.
What's in it for the supplier?
I mean, they're gonna provide this IT service for free. Why? I'm all for it, I'm just curious.
And I'm sure vendors and suppliers pay a cost to be a part of it.
Okay,
And entities such as municipalities, counties do not.
okay,
I'm sure it's a subscription service.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anybody else? All right. Discussion on declaring certain city property as surplus.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Again, this is a mere placeholder to tell you that at our meeting on October the 28th, you will have a list of property that is no longer needed by the city or otherwise surplus to the needs of the city. And we will have that list for you so you can see what equipment we're recommending be surplus. But this is a mere placeholder so that the council knows that's coming up on October the 28th.
Any questions? Next item is discussion on the term for newly appointed commissioner, Mr. Donnie Clark, replaced Linda Dean, whose term ended on January 17, 2020.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, we've been asked by the HPC to specify the term of Mr. Clark. It was an oversight on our part. When we appointed Mr. Clark, we did not specify his term. Since Linda Dean was the first individual to resign from the HPC, he will be filling her term. Again, this is to clear the record.
Any, well, before I ask for questions, we also appointed him to the other one. Is that gonna be a separate item or
We
not
did-
necessary? Well,
We did not appoint him to the Planning Commission.
Yes.
I believe we did.
He was only appointed to the HPC. We can bring that back for you on the 28th, but my record indicated there was no action taken on that appointment.
Mr. Mayor. May I say something?
Yeah, you can ask a question.
I recall making the motion for both of them at the same time, and it was voted on.
Well, we
I
certainly
recall that.
can
Can we
check.
look at the, listen to the recording?
I will. and-
Well, and I stand corrected. Here we have the minutes right now. Discussion on the city application for Commission's Board approved Donnie Clark to serve on the Historic Preservation and Planning and Zoning Commissions. So, I stand corrected. He was appointed to the Planning and Zoning Commission.
Do we need to add that
No,
for any
that-
reason?
That term is I think it's an unspecified term.
Leave that.
I don't know if terms are specified in there. But that wasn't a concern. The concern was the HPC term. And if he was appointed September the 23rd, so whatever the term is for the Planning and Zoning Commission, he will serve that term. And Councilmember Hines is absolutely correct. She made the motion, Councilmember King seconded to approve Donnie Clark to serve on the Historic Preservation and Planning and Zoning Commissions.
Okay. Any more questions, discussion? Next item, discussion on complaint against Grantville Historic Preservation Commission's decision to allow a storage shed and tent to remain on the lot at 43 LaGrange Street, Grantville, Georgia.
Yes, sir. We received a complaint from Ms. Selma Cody. The complaint is in your agenda package for action as deemed appropriate by the City Council. Basically, Ms. Cody is requesting the council to reverse the decision of the HPC to allow a storage shed and tent to remain on the lot located at 43 LaGrange Street, Grantville, Georgia.
Would anybody want to question or discuss that?
Well, I have a comment. It's all sour grapes. the HPC has voted twice. The man has been in front of the HPC twice, gone to court. Every time it's worked in his favor, and this is just sour grapes. Good gracious, leave him alone. It's over. We're asked to undo a decision they've made 2 times and the court's made. We're abusing this man. And so, I read it, read what's in there. It's very obvious. There's contempt for him. It's very obvious he's won 3 times now. So let's bring it up to the council and abuse him some more.
Anybody else? All right. Discussion on the proposal from Grantville Historic Preservation Commission to amend 20-6 F of the Code of Ordinance of the City of Grantville.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is a request by the Grantville Historic Preservation Commission to amend the Grantville Code of Ordinances to follow Georgia Code 44-10-28 regarding public hearings, wherein the Georgia Code gives the HPC a choice to hold or not hold a public hearing as part of their review process when reviewing an application for certificate of appropriateness. So again, this is a request of the HPC for consideration by the City Council.
Anybody got any questions or discussion on that?
I just want to say, I think there's a lot of opinion in here, and if you're going to vote for this change, you better study the ordinances yourself, because just one here says that we're now supposed to be publishing in the Noonan Times Herald, and I don't believe that to be correct. Hold up. COA, we might need to notify, but I don't think we're required to publish. And there's a lot that needs to be looked at before this council just casually changes our code of ordinances.
Well, I'll leave that
Well, I
to
would
the
hope-
city attorney.
I would hope they do their due diligence on everything that comes before the council. Or due diligence, I should say. Anybody else? Next item is discussion on Christmas bonuses for full-time, part-time employees. $500 for employees with over 1 year of service, $250 for employees with less than 1 year of service.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, the money for Christmas bonuses has been budgeted, but again, that's for the city council consideration and decision as deemed appropriate.
Did we give both full-time and part-time $500 last year?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, anybody got questions or comments, discussion?
I will say this, I don't know of any part-time employees that have over 1 year of service.
Nobody? All right, next item is an announcement of the holiday schedule, closing of City Hall.
Yes, sir. For the Thanksgiving holidays, City Hall will be closed on Thursday, November the 28th, 2019, and Friday, November the 29th, 2019. For the Christmas holidays, City Hall will be closed on Tuesday, December 24th, and Wednesday, December 25th, 2019. Now, that was put on the agenda because of the next 2 items, which are, First is a discussion decision on rescheduling the regularly scheduled city council meeting on Monday, November the 25th, 2019, to a special called meeting on Monday, November the 18th, 2019 at 6:30 due to the Thanksgiving holidays. The next item, as I said, was discussion decision on rescheduling the regularly scheduled city council meeting on Monday, December the 23rd, 2019, to a special called meeting on Monday, December 16th, 2019 at 6:30 p.m. due to the Christmas holidays. That is what we have normally done, but again, that's to the discretion of the city council. The next item is, if there's no questions, the next item is discussion determination of the ad hoc budget committee, 3 council members and 5 residents.
Okay. You want to handle that, or you want?
Well, Councilmember Hines asked us to be put on the agenda. I mean, certainly if it's the will of the city council, we can do that. We can refer to the administrative committee, which has 3 members. Whatever the city council deems appropriate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I forestated some time ago, when we attended this GMA meeting, convention in Savannah, that was one of the items that was discussed in one of my classes. And as I forestated, there's a city in the Atlanta area that has a budget committee that consists of 7 citizens and 3 city council members. So I thought it would be a good idea to bring before our city council, mayor and city council, to see if we would want to do the same thing. Now, it has been stated that we could have 4 citizens and 3 council persons to make it uneven. We could also have 6 citizens and 3 council people, and it'd still be an odd number. Or we could have 5 citizens and 2 city council members. However, I think it would be good to form this committee so that we can have citizen input in the budget process. And so I hope that the mayor and city council would find this to be an advantage for our city. I have spoken to 1 citizen, and that person has agreed to serve on this committee should it come to pass. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Reverend. Anybody else?
Mr. Mayor,
Excuse me.
I checked the barn. Barn's empty, okay? All the horses and cattle are gone. So we might want to consider this next July, but this council just passed a budget hundreds of thousands of dollars more than last year, and we're a little late to be considering this. However, I do think it's a good idea, and I hope Ms. Hines will bring it up next summer if the council doesn't do something with it now. Thank you.
Anybody else? Go ahead.
I don't know where the reference came from about the animals, but these were real bright, intelligent people, facilitators who conducted these classes, and it's working in one particular city. And I believe it would be, I realize that it may not be timely right now, but it is worth getting started for the next crew who will, for the next people who are going to be on this city council. So I think I think it would be a wise decision. However, we need two other people to think that it's wisdom in the making. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
One more comment?
Go ahead.
First of all, I think you'll do better with 2 members of the council, because then you can have meetings on short notice. You won't have to go through the announcement process for the sunshine laws. If you pick 2 members, I am for it. The reference to the animals had nothing to do with the intelligence of the good people who will volunteer to do this. It's an expression of closing the barn after the animals get out when it's too late. So I certainly didn't mean any insult to the people you would choose. And I am in favor of it next year. I'll certainly do what I can for you.
Anybody else? My only comment is, why not go ahead and make the appointments and have them in place for next year? There's nothing wrong with planning. Go ahead and set up the guidelines for it and put them in place. Next item would be discussion on forming and appointing volunteers to serve as ethics committee board members.
Yes, sir. This is an item where if we're going to form a pool of 10 volunteers, we need city council recommendations of the individuals so that we can send them letters asking them whether or not they would volunteer to serve as an ethics board volunteer. We've had 2 so far from council member Sells, but that's the extent of the individuals selected to serve as volunteers. So we ask the other council members and the mayor to consider selecting 2 individuals that would volunteer to serve as members of the pool of 10 volunteers for the ethics board whenever we receive an ethics complaint. It's a 2-year term. All the members that have been previously appointed, their term has expired. They're certainly eligible for reappointment. However, we need the mayor and council members to give us the names as appropriate.
All right, and that was tabled to this meeting. Can we make those appointments tonight?
Yes.
Okay, so let's just, I guess, be prepared to discuss whether we want to make the appointments or not. That's the next thing. Anybody else got any questions, comments?
Statement. Mr. Grieshaber, I have contacted 2 people who have agreed to serve, so I'll be glad to email you those names tomorrow if you desire.
Yes, ma'am. It's appropriate.
Okay. Anybody else? Questions, discussion, or comments, Jim? That's what right what we said. Next one is the announcement of the Christmas parade and tree lighting on November 30th
At 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m.
Yes, sir.
That be announced.
And that concludes the agenda.
Okay. Next item is citizens' comments. Can we can have it, right? Okay. There was some question to come up. Marion Cecil. Marion Cecily.
Yes. Just had to set my camera.
You have a good trip?
I'm sorry? Yeah.
All that.
Yeah. On and on. And on. And on. And on. And on. And on. Anybody getting aggravated yet? Yeah, and on. Well, that's how long 49 LaGrange has been this little 10 by 20 shed. I believe it broke the record. I don't think there's been a COA that's lasted more than a year. October's the first anniversary. You know, the first meeting, they didn't have the meeting, they didn't have the minutes, they didn't have them correct. We were never given a letter. Then the city took us to court. We went to court. Mr. Mitchell knows about the fraudulent document that he submitted to the judge for consideration. The judge got upset, kicked the case back down to the HPC. That's why the judge didn't rule on it. Easiest way out. Okay, so we went before the HPC, and we got approved. Oh, that's not good enough. So now we got some Cody, Penny Acres, and whoever other co-conspirators are to ask y'all to do something else. You know, obviously, I've had enough of this. I mean, you know, so, you know, I'd like to ask you to let this go. There were 8 sheds across the street from me. There's a couple of sheds at each side of me. There's nothing historical about that area. I'm right next to Dollar General, a used car lot. I mean, it's just, the ordinance says that it has to diminish the historical value of the area. Is it my time? Am my time up? Oh. And so, you know, we're under that. The neighbor came, testified, everything's fine. At least one person a day stops over and tells me how beautiful it is and how happy they are that things are going there. So, you know, and I am part owner of it, as documents been given to the city pertaining to that. I'm not a tenant. So I'll send you a letter in response to Selma Cody's letter. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, anytime.
Mr. Mallon.
Rodney Maurer, 82 Great Smith Street. I've got concern about the mill. The roof is caving in. I don't know if anybody's noticed it or not. And also, I think there's a crew that I think they got some flooring in the mill, and they left the overhead doors open to the driveway that goes into the loading dock, and they were left open. I'm concerned about people going in the mill that could be left it, or could be in there, maybe getting hurt or falling down, not being able to get up. We wouldn't know they're in there, so these doors need to be put down. That's a concern of mine, and the bank, I guess, needs to notify the crew that took the flooring out, so that's a concern. And also, bulk pickup. The code enforcement is not enforcing this code. Trash is being putting out on the next to the street, and the code enforcement officer is not enforcing this ordinance. So what can be done about that? And also the wall. We're gonna have to get the Donald Trump down here to fix this wall. Let's repair it. It looks terrible. Kudzu's going over the side of it, and let's fix it.
Okay, Mr. Mallory, thank you.
Mr. Bowery, can we find out about the mill?
I think he's had some correspondence. He may want to cover it in his report, or you want to.
Can I go ahead and address it now if you want me
If
to?
you will, go ahead.
We We have a contact, the mill, of course, is owned by the bank down in Florida. We've got a contact with the bank that we generally follow questions or concerns about the property to. When Mr. Mowry raised this issue, the city manager contacted me. I forwarded that on to the, to our contact with the bank. He emailed me back on the 24th of September saying the site was cleaned up on Friday of last week and focused on the two areas of the complaint, one, the loading dock, and two, the parking lot. The loading dock area is now clean, and I've attached before and after pictures. The front parking lot was not used by the demolition contractor. It appears the complaint was addressing the plywood sheets and traffic barrels / cones scattered across the property from activity unrelated to CCB, which is Capital City Bank, which is the bank that owns the property. We had the contractor organize the plywood and traffic barrels near the building in an effort to improve the site appearance. So that was the response that I got back as to the issues that were raised.
So I guess we need to, about the roof caving in and the access needs to be addressed, I guess, with them folks.
These doors are a safety issue too. If somebody goes in there and gets hurt, like I say, we're not gonna know anybody's in there, and the roof's caving in, somebody's gonna get hurt, and then someone's gonna be liable. I don't know who, but that's a concern of mine. So. Plus, it's beautification. Let's
Keep addressing it, how's that? Maybe we'll convince somebody, Mr. Mallory.
let's make Branford look beautiful.
Amen. I appreciate you coming up. All right, Ms. Warren?
Hi, Patty Warren. I just have 2 observations tonight, and I just wanted to share those. Number one, I have a printed copy of your code and ordinances that I usually bring every week. I have it at my home, I study it. And I just think it might be beneficial if y'all had one at the council meetings. It seems to come up every time and nobody knows what the actual ordinance is. So it might be a good add to your council meetings. You have the attorney here that can interpret it for you when you have the questions. And then you can read and know what it is. The other one is about the sidewalks. Councilwoman Hines, I just have to make the observation that last meeting you were all for paving a road that was already paved, but you don't want to redo sidewalks because they already have them, and there's others that don't.
Mrs. Warren.
That's fine.
Okay.
All right, we got any more, Robert? No, that's it. Thank you. Okay, council members' comments. Alan?
That's not, yes.
Yes, he's gone. Did you go?
He must have, he took everything.
I think he didn't feel good.
I agree, he was coughing pretty bad.
All right, Councilmember King.
I'll just make it quick. Thank you all for coming. I have to admit that the so-called Greenfield Gardens looks very nice. I think Mr. Cecil has done a very good job with that. But, there's always a but. We need to adhere to the ordinances that we have already established. It's going to come up at our next meeting for a decision, luckily not tonight, but we've got to support the people that we put on the Historic Preservation Commission, plain and simple. And we need to support that commission 100%, or we need to find a way to replace those people. And all I know is from what I've been reading, and it's sure not good on either side. The commission is fighting amongst itself, and they're getting as bad as city council. So With that, I say thank you all for coming and have a good night.
Thank you, Mark. Ms. Hunt?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to thank you all for coming and for staying. I want to, sometime, you know, I have this saying, I have sometime I remember and sometime I don't. But I do remember tonight saying that I was in accord with the sidewalks being redone and all of that wherever it's needed. I also made reference to the fact that Griffin Street does not have sidewalks, and I believe that we need to focus on where there are no sidewalks as well as where there are sidewalks that are in need of repair. And yes, I voiced my concern about the Hawkins Street and Pitt Circle. It had been ongoing since 2016, long overdue. But praise God, the road have been paved and they look well. However, they do need the white lines for safety reasons because there's a drop off. I hope that can come to pass. And as I forestated, yes, we need sidewalks throughout this city. Our roads, I believe, we need roads paved throughout the city to enhance our city and make it more inviting. Thank you again so much for coming.
Thank you very much. Mr. Sutter?
Thank you. You know, I'm not a fan of the HPC. I've made that very clear. The footprint is ridiculous, and there are those on the HPC that are there to punish people they don't like and reward people they do like. I wanted to build 6 new houses in the Mill Village, which is an absolute no-brainer, and I left there with nothing but contempt. I came to the council to ask them to override the objections. The council said, nope, we support the HPC. So the Mill Village has a bunch of vacant lots, and there's no encouragement, tremendous shortage in Coweta County for workforce housing. No, I'm not a fan of the HPC, and this man has won twice. He's gone to court and still won, and this council's gonna consider undoing all that. You know, this is Grantville. It already looks great over there. A little common sense wouldn't hurt, but we've gotta get away from using our positions to abuse people. And you can use the letter of the law to abuse people all day long. The sheriff over there can arrest every one of us for something if he uses the letter of the law in every case. A little common sense here. The man's won twice, and the HPC isn't happy. So, again, I'm not a fan. Thank you for coming and your patience listening to my profound opinions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. I want to thank everybody for coming out, staying out. Mr. Murray, I want to thank you for being here every month and leading us in the invocation. It means a lot to me. And thank everybody for being here. And with that, I'm done. How about Mr. Grieshaber?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I alluded to early, the T-SPLOST referendum is coming up on November the 5th, 2019. While I cannot advocate for it, I would say it is very important and helpful to the city of Grantville. Our projects are the 2 railroad crossings at Main Street, Charlie Patterson, a Grandma Branch Road from Bohannon to Alexander Road resurfacing, Griffin Street, pavement repairs and resurfacing from Highway 29 to Main Street, LaGrange Street pavement repairs and resurfacing from Main Street to Highway 29. And for our residents, the Canterbury subdivision, pavement reconstruction, Ivy Glen subdivision, pavement reconstruction, Brush Park subdivision, pavement reconstruction. These projects total about $2.4 million that the city could not afford them by themselves. They improve transportation safety, and there are signs available outside for those that care to take one of them. It is important to the city, and if the city council would like, we will distribute the signs throughout the city if there's some left after the residents take them. But that again is a decision by the council if they want the city staff to distribute the signs throughout the city.
Mr. Mayor, do we have anything else to vote on November 5th?
Is that it?
There,
Yeah, we do. We have,
the senior.
there is something with the senior,
Tax exemption.
tax
Homestead
exemption and, I don't know a lot about it. It's evidently, rating upward. You lose some of it if your property value, if you've got you might have a small house and a lot of property, so that raises the value. And so you lose some of your thing, is the way I understand it. They're trying to correct
It's
that.
a vote to raise the senior homestead exemption for school tax.
Thank you.
All right. Mr. Mitchell,
I don't have anything there.
nothing else to come before the council, adjournments and orders.
So moved.
Got a motion, got a second, any